Told you it wouldn't be that long. Already back prepping for game 2. You got Luminosity versus Wichita Wolves, and all eyes are on this Wichita Wolves team. They come out, beat one of the favorites to go undefeated in the SCS group stage, and now they'll go up against a Challenger League team of Luminosity.
Yeah, definitely another one of these big matchups for them, but if they can continue to push themselves further on and have, I feel like an upset victory isn't the right way to put it, right? They've definitely shown themselves as a very capable squad, but perhaps the uphill battle, well, maybe we get to see them reach that all-coveted 3-0 qualification spot, but we have to see, don't we, Light Rose? We got one more map before we get to find out if they're even 2-0. This could be, well, a deal breaker.
I mean, honestly, would it be enough? Who is the underdog in this situation? I think that's a question that we might never know the answer to. I want to talk about Luminosity. They are a roster that, I want to mention that, yeah, we don't know the underdogs. It is literally dead even. So going into these teams, I think there's a lot to talk about, and I want to talk about that Luminosity roster. They went up against Lycus Empire. They had a scary first half. Eddie, Asian, Splash, Rice, and Juliet. Those first 3 rounds up against Empire, this team looked like they were getting put on a poster. They just could not fight up against this team, and then eventually they get their foothold in, they get their foot in the door, and they just do not let go. They bursted it wide open, and eventually they win it, I believe, 7-5. It wasn't an overtime match, but it was one where you question a little bit whether or not Luminosity was honestly the team that people were thinking they were.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think sometimes we've seen a couple of these teams in the first round have slower starts in, and when you find your footing, you find your groove. I'm expecting this to be the sort of trajectory through. Luminosity Gaming, very, very capable roster, but you want to highlight one player individually, right? You want to see who was that big game-breaking performance from, and it was Eddie in our last round against Lycus Empire. 1.42, 13 kills, 3-0 on that entry. I mean, look, if you want to have someone leading the charge, being able to get you that early map control, especially against a team like Wichita Wolves, who are very good at playing around the space that they have available to themselves, I think this is a great sort of entry role model to have for your squad. And I think it's going to be very big in these rounds, especially on their attacking half. How well forwards can they push through? But there's opponent, Wichita Wolves. And we got a little bit to show you about them, as it will be an interesting one to see how they pair up in this game because of, well, their last game. It was an 8-6 banger, the first game to go into overtime. JJ, Riot, Twizzler, Bino, Bry. I mean, these are the guys that you really want to see go. They're quite popular, right? People really backing them or really wanting them to not quite get as far as their fans. But I'm not going to tell you about them. Let's let Bino tell you himself.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Bino, and I'm a player for Wichita Wolves. I think we're going to do pretty good, surprisingly, against the CL and Pro League teams. I'm super looking forward to playing that kind of competition. Super exciting. I think we're going to have pretty good games. We'll play pretty structured. We'll get along pretty well, and looking forward to it. Strengths, obviously, they're very structured. They know exactly, they play the game all day. They know pretty much all the plays in and out, so it's going to be hard to catch them off guard. That's kind of what we're good at. Weaknesses, there will be little holes that we're going to have to kind of exploit. That's how we're going to win against Pro League teams, because most of the time they have everything covered, but I'm sure we'll be able to find a little something, and hopefully we can do well.
Two blue then. Blue, another one.
Oh my god.
1v1.
Oh!
Fracture 6 on Twitter.
So our biggest team flaw during the qualifiers was definitely our entry engagements. We had some issues with different players. I'm sure we'll get it narrowed down in scrims, and we'll work on it for the league. Yeah, should be not a big deal.
Yo, look, West Bank.
Wait, no, I got wall bang.
Thank you, Dad.
Short. Go towards West.
Yana was here.
Yana, Dad.
Oh.
That guy just got... Not necessarily like an individual pro league team, but the Jane I know and Iconic, those guys that played for OB back in the day, those guys are always super inspiring because they actually came from T3. So this is super awesome to kind of have it like come full circle and have T3 competition playing against those guys for the top dogs now, and maybe we can upset them and get a win. That would be awesome. Winning SCS would be amazing. It's a really awesome league. It's got a lot of eyes on it. It would mean a lot for us. It would show that we can actually compete with the top dogs and prove it to ourselves that we can compete. Yeah, it's just super awesome. I think my whole team is ready for CL/PL. I think all 4 of us, myself included, all 5, compete at a super high level. The 5 of us are clearly one of the best T3 teams. We've been showing that throughout different other leagues and past qualifiers recently. So yeah, I'm super excited to compete. Hopefully some of the guys on our team can get a chance and get looked at because they deserve to be. They're really, really amazing players.
Oh, Bino, just go.
Blue dead.
Back.
One's injured.
Yeah, down. Yeah.
Box 2.
You go through a rotate. Nice!
T3, most of the teams aren't really structured and they can't really adapt, compete, and really like think of solutions on the fly. That's a super part of Rainbow Six. You got to kind of adapt as you go on. So I think having a baseline structure that you can build on when you're in a round or in a game is really important. I think we bring that to the table, which is super interesting and helps us a lot in situations. Other than play Siege, that's a really good one. I like to play a lot of sports. I'm a pretty competitive guy, so either watching sports or just playing them. Kind of did that throughout all high school and stuff. But yeah, mainly what I do to relax is just play Siege. I enjoy it a lot, so yeah. I'm getting into a little bit of Overwatch 2. Game is pretty fun. Just like your normal games like COD, anything with the boys, anything's fun with the boys. Probably have to say chocolate. I think chocolate's probably just clear favorite in my book.
Shark up. Last main door, over there.
You might have seen the explosive interview that JJ had, but Bino, he's that nice, cool center that might bring Wichita Wolves all together. You heard from him, but let's see that player that we kind of want to talk about. Twist was that Wichita Wolves member against Aerial Rise Academy that really, or excuse me, not Twist, Twizzler. There is a difference there. He showed up against Aerial Rise Academy and on the smoke. It did get, I believe, banned out, but he was a player that really made sure that Aerial Rise Academy did not walk over this team. He was always that kind of brick wall that Aerial had to walk through first.
Yeah, and I think, a great performance for himself. I want to also just mention, I think, Brian, that first game. Both of them putting up big numbers, but 16 kills in the 14 played. I mean, there were so many important moments in their series against Aerial Rise Academy where you really needed individuals to step up, and Twizzler is one that you're looking at. Did that before. You're hoping he can do it again today because, I mean, we saw Bino mention it in their interview. Sometimes they do struggle to get in, get those opening picks, and get that initial control. When they can, they are very good at using that and sharing information amongst the team to expose the weaknesses in an opposing hold. And they are very good at showing flexibility with their operator picks with great purpose and great efficiency.
And yeah, this is one thing, they feel intentional in a lot of decisions that they make, and that means that they might not waste a lot of time. Like, they get in with like 30-45 seconds left. They try to put that diffuser down, and that kind of indicates that you know what you're doing. You're not trying to waste any second, just droning a little too long, lacking the confidence to kind of go forward. That is one team that this Wichita Wolves roster absolutely knows to a T. But I know that them against Luminosity, I want to talk about the maps, because the maps, we saw Wichita Wolves on Villa, and then we saw Luminosity on Border. So there's kind of a balance between the two, but already we're not getting one of those. We're not getting the other. It's going to be somewhere completely different.
Yep. Villa gone. Theme park gone from Luminosity, wanting to get rid of these slightly slower attacker maps, right? Where you have to work through a little bit more utility. That's because that's something that they kind of struggled with against Lycus Empire, where Lycus would build up these fortifications, and sometimes breaking through could cause them some problems. A couple interesting bans towards the later end. Skyscraper, not going to be seen. A little bit unfortunate, but Oregon is going to be the difference between these two teams, and I quite like this, actually. You know what? I think a lot of the times Oregon can be this kind of dull map, but for these teams, I think this is a really good one to see what the fundamentals are going to bring out. Because for the side of Wichita Wolves, if you can break down your defense, if you can break down your opponents and just start to slowly push for more and more advantages, you can really force people out of Oregon as a map. Luminosity, on the other hand, how do you deal with that? How do you bounce back and fight fire? The predictions, though, here, Light Rose, and I mean, we've both gone with Wichita Wolves, but a bit of a split. More split than our first game.
Yeah, it's another one that I think the other game that we had like a perfect split was that S2 game. So it's going to be another one where some people might go up, some people might go down. I was on the latter half where I went down, but maybe I'll get some better luck this time. I know that like a lot of these matches in this 1-0 bracket, there is no clear favorite. The community knows that, we know that, and it makes for such exciting back and forths. Whoever kind of jumps out might be that clear favorite, because here's the one thing. Luminosity, yes, they let up 3 rounds, but they were able to come back. I don't think Wichita are going to allow that. If Luminosity let up 3 rounds in a row, they need to be extremely careful and intentional with their play, because I know that Wichita, they are going to take that lead and absolutely run away with it.
It will be interesting, right? Because Aerodise Academy in their game against Wichita Wolves were kind of in that position where they took that time out, they came back, and they were able to figure out what was coming out from Wichita Wolves. Villa is a very interesting map, and it's one of my personal favorites. Wichita had a very clear plan for every site that they played, and they would run it back again. And different operators would come in for that purpose, but it was always with this goal in mind. I think Oregon is another map which can really kind of ring true to this philosophy, where you can have very unique operators come out on key maps to fill a specific purpose. If Luminosity can read into that, if they can figure out what, for example, the Mira or the Maestro or the Goyo is here to do, and you can play around that and adjust accordingly, they could have a very good time at playing this Wichita Wolves roster in circles.
I mean, but the thing about Oregon is that everybody kind of knows it. You know what most teams are going to bring. Any surprises will probably be figured out too. I mean, maybe not the first time, but definitely think about the second time, the third time. You adapt. And that is the one thing that you mentioned that Wichita Wolves are decently good at. And we'll have to see if it kind of takes them by surprise, if they can make sure that they get an edge on this Luminosity team as we go into Oregon. It is the decider. Just look at that. Perfectly equal, 50-50. It's probably going to be the only time that you're going to see something like that, so cherish just how equal we are.
Will be interesting to see what slips through the ban phase, because I'm thinking of a couple operators that we saw Wichita Wolves bring the Flores to great effect at taking down some of these key positions in their matchup on Villa, but Oregon has these spots as well. You're looking at Bunker on the bottom floor, being able to get those Roteras in and remove pieces of utility, deployable shields, Banshees, but no. First ban gone away because, well, you can slip through those cameras, you can find yourselves into awkward parts of the map that a lot of teams don't really want to have that uncertainty around. Makes sense to get rid of it, and a set of frags gone with it. But there's the Flores ban coming out from Luminosity Gaming. I think it makes sense to go on Wichita Wolves, it makes sense on Oregon, brilliant ban.
And so far, no surprises really on Oregon. Everything just kind of makes sense. The alibi, that is a pretty consistent ban, especially in this season. I don't know if it's going to carry over, but so far, no 1.5, no deployable shield, and no just slight information, little briefs that you might get. But that last defensive ban from Wichita Wolves is going to be an Azami. So Mira is here, Valkyrie is here, and with Wichita Wolves, I believe, starting on that defense, are they going to be able to grab that advantage that has presented itself and run away with it? But so far, they're not bringing either of them on the basement.
Interesting lineup. You got the deployable shield there on the Warden, I'd assume. The dot coming in is from Bino is a fun one, right? I mean, I like to see it. You can reinforce some of these positions. You can play on elbow if a frag grenade comes through, it's going to deal you a bit of damage. You can reinforce yourself up, but no, instead, just completely closing it down. They understand that they're going to be able to be pushed out quite quickly regardless of what they bring to the table. So instead, they want to get it reinforced. They want to give themselves a little bit more space to play, and they're going upstairs above. So having this roam above, trying to slow down Luminosity's approach, and they're changing quite a few operators to deal with this, right? They're grabbing that ace as a secondary for... No, they're not. They thought about it. They thought about completely changing their hard breach options to tackle this upstairs reinforcement usage, but still feel like just the Habana is the correct call.
I mean, you're able to bring secondary hard breach, but they're actually edging towards that smoke canister instead. So really, it's just going to be the Hibana as Wichita Wolves. They're not centralizing themselves in the basement like some teams. They are really spreading out outside the map. I think, do they even have any players inside the site? Okay, they have one, which is good. I don't think Luminosity are going to realize that gap that Wichita have between the site and their roam, and they're just going to try to straight on attack this roam. They are going to meet so many faces and so many bodies. Are they prepared for it is my question.
Well, trying to get this drone information coming forwards. A couple players, you see JJ there, just waiting around on freezer stairs, one in kitchen, keeping it close as well. As the drones just trying to gather that information. It's Twizzler close on them. You've got the shotgun option, should he want to go for it. Ying, option up. Looking to try and jump on in, but it's going to be Bry who finds the first kill. Riot grabs a second as well, as things, you know, they tried to go for this aggressive play. Luminosity tried to find these opening picks, didn't really work for them, and look at that. Wichita Wolves instantly dropping away and falling back to safety.
And now no sledge. That means that frag grenades are gone. So any player that's just hiding behind a deployable shield's gonna be able to stay there. That's a huge advantage that Luminosity now have to find some way to overcome. They have a lot of time to do it, but I mean, it's going to have to take Wichita Wolves over-peaking things, giving away their natural lead that they have, for me to really think that Luminosity can walk away with this round, because, I mean, losing somebody like Yana and Sledge as your first two players gone, that's a gap that you cannot really fill. And with the amount of time that Luminosity are just kind of using on this first floor, droning out, waiting, I do not see that disparity being filled.
Now, just waiting downstairs. These Capcan traps deployed around are going to just become more and more impactful as the round goes on, because you don't really have the time to check them. The Candela's coming in to try and clear out this position on pillars, and that's going to be the time for the drop. Quick trade, able to get the injure, but Yang gets the refrag, and now looking to get into a position to pick Edward up as they pressure on into elbow, not even realizing that's been reinforced. So clearly their approach never wanted to tango with it, never wanted to deal with it, and weren't really ready for it to be closed off as a result. 20 seconds left. These health bars on the defense are all being popped back up thanks to Bino. The Candela's flying down highways. They're looking to try and work their way in for the plant. Yang going for the plant as he walks on through, but just blinding everyone around the long corridor. Edward gets one. Edward gets a second, looking for the potential third, but it's Bry that wins it out. Looking to swing onto the diffuser carrier. Bry for a triple kill. Can't get the third. Yang, he's walking around. He's on the left. He's on the rotation, but there's 3 seconds left. Gets caught in the hole and can't quite get round in time to find the final gunfight. Hiding behind the shield, Bino brings the home round. Whew. That was closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. It definitely was. Wichita Wolves is taking a lot of these gunfights, but Luminosity jumped in with a lot of time on their side, and I kind of like that. They weren't just fiddling with their thumbs, waiting for what looked like an inevitable loss. They tried their best, gave it their all, and honestly had a good chance. I want to make sure that none of these names that you see on the side of Luminosity are their actual names. I mean, as Yang, you've got Rice, Edward is Eddie, Vamos is Kix, Ying is Asian, and Yang is Rice. Or Newcastle is Splash. Like, they make it so easy for us, Kolu.
Ying and Yang's a fun one as well, because, well, they are similar. But you know what? That just adds a little bit of extra fun to the game. And you know what? Luminosity. They tried to go for that first attacking win, lost 2 members early on to the roam setup from Wichita Wolves. And it's interesting how you tackle with that sort of play, right? Because you obviously have to try and work away at clearing them out, but there was also that presence on the top floor. So when you have the kitchen push start to come on through and you start to see Twizzler back up and give a little bit of space, you still have to worry about these vertical angles, and that's what caught them off guard in the end, and you get the advantage. What do Wichita Wolves do? They recognize that time is their ally, they back away, and they create extra problems for Luminosity, because you now have less utility, less operators alive, to get the jobs required to start to pressure that basement. Even if it came as close as it did, thanks to some very creative uses of the Candela.
Oh, no. Splash gets his ankles munched by a Frostmat. There's nobody around to confirm it, but the revive will through. I mean, it's HP at the end of the day. I guess the entire point of that Frostmat was just to cause a little trolling, because clearly nobody was around to actually find the confirm. But, I mean, that is an advantage at the end of the day that Wichita Wolves are going to be able to use. We'll see if Twizzler can be this kind of first bastion of defense, trying to take out any players on Luminosity. As so far, I mean, wasting no time. This attack is already kind of doing its job.
Yeah, and, well, able to get Attic opened up now. Splash is looking to get that higher ground, maybe get to a bit of safety before they start to send the drones on through to spot out these positions being held. But it's right, able to grab the first kill, taking down the Yana, and you lose that entry point, right? And that makes things a little bit more cumbersome to walk on, and you lose those frag grenades as well. Playing for this control inside of Trophy, they have the rotation option available. That breach still closed off. You're finally going to see them start to work away at getting that open, as Rice able to pop the exothermic. No denial in place on the wall to stop them, as that Mujammer dealt with earlier on into the round. They have the entry point. They're a man down, but now they can start to work away with this pressure on Attic, this pressure on the window. They come so close to the head of the Jaeger.
These frag grenades are just blowing up every which way, but it's still not doing anything. Golu, I mean, Luminosity have to find some way to get back that entry that they lost. But look underneath, look where Bino is. He sees any entry through the rotate, and that player is dead to rights. Vamos, oh no, it's another one. Julian takes out a Frostmat, but just right there, Splash is going to be able to get the refrag. So something from Luminosity, but they're still trying to make up that massive disparity between them and the enemy, and it just cannot be made up. We're kind of looking at the same thing we saw before, where Luminosity cannot find some way to get these early rounds, and they end up in a hole that they have to find themselves out of.
And it's just that time, right, really hurting them as they're trying to push on in. The utility setups on Wichita Wolves just playing very carefully to fall back and not give up these advantages that they gain early on. And it's something that we expected coming in from them, right, is to just play very patiently around the utility. Their setup's very purposeful. They want to play around it properly. And now this is going to be a bit of fun. They get to go to their tertiary site. I feel like the meeting dining debate has been put to rest now. Meeting is the site that you see 99% of the time, if not more. This setup, again, focusing on watching out from split. You want to be careful of a rush through garage, because that can happen and it can really hurt. But this upstairs setup is going to be pivotal for them. Opening up the rotation into the top of tower is interesting. You'll see some teams go for it, and it usually implies they want to play some early pressure on the staircase inside of Big Tower. Maybe you have something like your Jaeger, put a couple ADSs there to keep themselves alive from outside frag grenades. But it does add that extra layer for Luminosity to peel away from, because you expect the breach to get open eventually. Why not give it and add that extra sort of concern, or maybe grab a freebie while you're at it?
So how will Luminosity just kind of attack? I mean, I think part of what they need to do, in my eyes, get that entry. That it's something that they kind of lacked in those previous two rounds. And when they've gone for the actual execution, it's always been with one man down. If they can just afford having another player to help them out, maybe that could be the difference between victory and defeat. But what I love about this attack so far is how quickly they're honestly working through things. Some teams struggle with how quickly they run through the map, getting clear of roamers, but just like that, Eddie takes out JJ from this roster, and now that's Luminosity getting that entry that I really wanted from them.
That does make a big difference now as well, because you lose that extra support on this top floor to watch down many of the angles. This is a bomb site in its own, and you're trying to play it for time. Riot now backed up into dorms, just waiting patiently, because the breach, the holes, they're ready, they're there. Window play below is being watched, so you can play for a little bit of time. Bryce still in Attic is going to be important. He's actually going to choose to drop here, like Rose. Doesn't want to deal with it. The drones coming in will spot the second fall away from Bryce. A couple fall away shots, try to get him down. but he's able to escape with his life, still losing that man count, still giving up that top floor control to Luminosity earlier than they might have wanted in these rounds. Still alive.
Oh, a C4 takes out Rice from underneath. He is gone. So JJ, I mean, that was a big fragger. Gone. There goes your hard breach. So there is going to be a way for Luminosity to actually get inside of the site, but it's kind of going to be a funnel of death. Golu, they have the ability to drop down that hatch or just walk through the doors that map has, but both of them aren't really your favorite in the end, because you're always going to feel like a member of Wichita Wolves is going to be watching you from that lower end. So now Wichita trying to defend against Luminosity, who sitting back. We're honestly not seeing the action yet. Here comes Eddie. He drops down. Now he is being covered by his Luminosity friends. He gets halfway through the defuse. Luminosity take out 2 players, but now Wichita have the ability to defend. Can they do exactly that? Bino creeps up towards the kitchen, and now he needs to take out 3 remaining members of Luminosity. He can't even ADS. He's got nowhere to look. So just like that, this team bounces back, and they look a little different than we previously saw.
I really like that change up from Luminosity, right? Because this round they've come in, they get that opening pick, and I think that gave them a lot of freedom. I think Wichita Wolves didn't want to lose any more members, because fighting back from that 5 versus 3 is near infinitely harder than the 5 versus 4. So instead, they did play much more passively. They dropped back off way earlier than they possibly needed to do, because what happened? The drones came through from Luminosity, spotted that Bry was running away, that they'd seen the drop from the mute from Bry, and they pushed in. They took that space above, and with the Bark in tow, you can open so much of this floor. And the rest of the downstairs members, right? We've seen early work done by Ash, by a Nomad, to force them back away from kitchen, which gives the opportunity for that drop. Luminosity playing around the fact that Wichita Wolves will give you space if they think they're going to lose their life, and punishing that to gain the site control.
So last time we were on basement, Golu, this was a Wichita Wolves victory that really should have been a lot more in their favor. I mean, they had a 5v3 advantage going into that final minute, and it was 1v1 in the last 5 seconds of the round, and unfortunately just the map geometry helped the defense in the end. Right off going for a little brazen play. He tries to explode the enemy team with his C4, but it's just a little bit too far away from them to actually have any impact, but he's not really going too far. That is a Gemini clone, so he doesn't have to actually worry about anybody immediately hunting him down, but he has to know that, well, eventually Luminosity will try to make their way towards him, so he's got at least that inkling in his mind.
Well, we see Asian just looking to take this control. The drones Florm coming through just to, again, push back this Wichita Wolves members. Bry still on Freezer Staircase, still has those goggles available should any of these Candelas start to roll in his direction. So far playing for this space on the middle floor. And this roam setup has kind of come through again, right? They tried to slow things down. Just, it hasn't quite worked to the same effect. Luminosity no longer giving over these early picks on unexpected angles, and the rest of the team falling back, playing a little bit more conservatively, expecting it to not work twice in a row. All 5 members, though, alive. Half the round gone, nearly. And now it's just about to see how can Luminosity change up from last time with this extra utility on board, still 4 frag grenades in tow, as they try to peel away space around Pillar, or are they going to collapse on Freezer?
I mean, I like Luminosity's odds in this scenario. They have that 2 remaining players that did help them in these gunfights in the last round. They have countered Wichita's attack previously, as now they're going to try something to actually notch themselves in that bomb site, but it is still going to be a little bit more before we get to that execution. Golo still droning out, still using frag grenades just to try to sneak out any kills before they actually try to get that bomb site down. We're a little bit away before we actually start seeing gunfights flare everywhere.
You know, looking for this swing, try and get aggressive onto the staircase. Again, a great job by Luminosity to peel away at a lot of the utility. Edward getting caught out on a swing as Riot is able to grab the frag onto Asian. Still trying to force their way down though, Light Rose as well. What a shot. from Rice.
And now that drops your Aruni, as Eddie's going to be able to get revived. The smoke canisters need to have an impact. And, well, smoke canisters or smoke grenades, Eddie's going to be able to use them along with those flashbangs. But so far, Rice is kind of stopped right here. He's going to have to find some way forward, as JG just has his number in this scenario. But Warden hasn't been accounted for. Wichita have an advantage. And as Bry just can sit back, absolutely tear this attack to shreds. It's Wichita. They have a much better basement defense and can walk away with at least a 3-3 side.
Yeah, they'd opened up into elbow this time, but it still doesn't matter to Luminosity. That's not their game plan. They are trying to take this freezer control away, and they did a much better job than in the previous round at just checking and scoping out for this early roam. They saw a couple members, were able to put a little bit of pressure, and, well, that was the sign for which they're to fall back to the basement. We saw Brian looking. Does he get aggressive on freezer stairs? No, he gives up the space, and he falls back in to fulfill that anchoring position that ultimately won him the round. It was just, the utility came in a little bit too late. And with the round having 40 seconds left, you're still trying to pry for that opening pick. You're still looking to actually get into the juicy part of freezer. It just didn't really give them much time to play with. And the idea of that push, where you come down you come down from laundry, you come in from freezer, you want to have that opening. You want to clear out that washing position, because you see what happens when Bry goes undetected. They thought it was safe, bites them in the back. Bit difficult to deal with.
I mean, is this the back and forth that we're kind of expecting so far? I think Luminosity, in my eyes, kind of look a little bit like bears. Like they're sleeping. They take a little bit to get warmed up, but eventually you poke them enough, they get angry. And I think we're getting to the point where round 6, you have to consider whether or not Luminosity are at their full power or not. And Bry actually, his C4 does find something. It's a little bit of health of Ying, so I mean, it's something. It's much better than last round, but still, it's a level of utility that gone that maybe you might get later on, but there's still at least one C4 on the side of Wichita Wolves. That's their only form of plans now, is the one C4 in the hands of Bino.
Well, trying to clear out this roam below. Eddie just making sure he's safe to walk up. No one's going to be swinging him from the bottom of white, and clear out the proximity alarm with the frag grenade, so that later on in the round, when they want to push up, there's less of that indication that a player is holding that cross angle, cutting the site in half. The drone's coming through, should have spotted Bry, who looks to try and maybe catch on an aggressive swing, but there's no one there just yet, as, well, another drone's going to be fed into the Valkyrie, who's still playing that. I want to say looking to fall back, but waiting out the time. And the air jab makes things a little bit difficult. But Bino, inside of security, who hasn't yet really been cleared out, is able to shoot it off, which frees up the movement of this Valkyrie once again. Still, see Splash holding it, expecting some form of aggression to come out. But Wichita, they're more than happy to sit patiently here, Light Rose. The Candella's going off inside of sight, though, as they jump through the window. Riot grabs one. Julian looking for the second, able to sneak on by.
Wow, Julian getting down the bomb. I mean, in my eye, I think this is a huge risk to go for that, but a swing from 2 players on the side of Luminosity, give them the edge, and then it is going to allow Julian to get down the sight, and there just isn't the angle from Bino, as now the 2 members of this defense have to somehow make up this large disparity, and Bino is stuck in the basement. So now both members of Wichita Wolves have to just really actually go away from that diffuser, somehow cling out this round. They can't do it. A well-executed round from Luminosity. It all kind of came crashing together, but they had control of it from the beginning.
It's interesting as well, right? Because so much time was spent dealing with this downstairs presence that I honestly didn't expect them to just be ready to go straight on into sight. But they'd clearly had this split in the goal, right? Where we saw drones coming through, being peeled away, and the response was to lock these players down. Because the players on the big window inside of sight knew when they can go in, when they're ready for it, and with the Candelas to cover, and just make it a little bit more difficult to challenge these angles during the vault-in, the E1Ds to limit your possible movement as well, because you still get those pings when you're blinded, so it can be a way to try and make up for the fact that you'll get flashed by your own team. Get in. Get that plant down. I mean, I also want to highlight, Julian, wonderful flick kill onto the Frost, onto JJ, and then Nitrocell went off, because he got off, very quickly swung it, and went straight back to planting again. So, tremendous shot from him. Now, Wichita Wolves. They get to play this top floor again. They have to be a little bit more cautious. You still have Eddie on the Ying. You still have Julian rocking the Lion. Are they going to go for a similar kind of take? Well, the adaptation from Bryce to drop that black eye camera inside of Dining to get that information a little bit earlier.
I like the little addition that Bry has. He's not going for that same C4, but a little unique black eye. We'll see if it gets caught out by Luminosity. Now they're kind of really centered on that master bedroom near that trophy. Bry, though, no matter what the site, no matter what operator he's on, he's just kind of exploring. I mean, call him Dora at this moment because he's just running around the map to his heart's content exploring, with Luminosity not really dead set on directly going for these roamers, at least not yet. They've really focused more on the actual site itself. I mean, they just ignored Bino and Bry, who were directly across of each other in the security. So we'll see if that's just going to be the case again. A Candela hops in. Eddie just going for the Warden, who is that direct counter. And once again, it's that early execution that Wichita cannot be prepared for. Luminosity has complete control over, and it could be a flawless round on the horizon. This execution and attack has just been wonderful.
And that planter now able to get it down as Bino left in the 1 versus 4. Still a bit of work to cut out for him as the Candela rolls out, creating the distraction. That Asian needs to walk up behind and claim the final kill in the round. And a wonderful little set play coming in there, right? You have the Lion on the window ready to react and cut off anyone who tries to move in to combat the Ying, just jumping into Attic. And the rest of the team, big window, games repelled. They're prepared for when this Wichita Wolves roster try to move back in. They are going to collect freebie after freebie, and that's exactly what happened. They fell back. They tried to reinforce site. They tried to fill the void, as they usually do. But they were just waiting for it. Brilliant little set piece from Luminosity.
That is the strength of the attack from Luminosity. Will Wichita Wolves be able to counterattack? You talked about in the pre-show how everything seems to have an intention, that there always a plan with the operators that they bring. I think that was the case with Luminosity on their attack. Wichita need to counter that, if not be better on their own attack, but they're going to have to go up against a Ying, which Wichita chose not to bring at all. They're going to have to go up against a Goyo. Look at the plant denial. Golo. I mean, it's 3 C4s. You've got the smoke canisters, 3 of those, and you have Goyo canisters, which will be able to burn on the ground. 2 of them actually set up over in blue, so clearly the play from Luminosity is, all right, Wichita, try to execute. See how long it takes you.
And you can see, I think the one on the doorway is there to stop a rush from Wichita Wolves. We saw in their opening game of the season, they were happy to bring the Blitz. Riot rocked that one out to try and get early control of the powerful position. In that case, it was main stairs, but Blitz is something you'll see on Oregon if teams feel comfortable to take early elbow control away from their opponent. Instead, focusing much more on the back side of the map. Want to try and get this tower control, want to play for that pressure inside of bunker. A little bit harder to do without that Flores, but should still be a very overcomable problem for them as, well, so far, it's Asian. On this back staircase, that is the first hurdle for them to overcome. Will fall back very quickly after getting that drone. Once again, you do not want to lose out early on. Already a bit of presence towards this tower, though.
I was concerned a little bit for Asian because you saw the barricade being broken in front of him and behind him, but I'm glad that he backed off as soon as he did because I think that would have been a huge mistake. The patience from Bry pays off. Eddie is down. That's currently the top fragger on the side of Luminosity. And now Asian is still going to try to take this engagement. There is a drone going to spot his position, so he has a choice to make. He can just try to take that blind one-on-one gunfight, or probably the smarter decision, which currently he is doing, and just back off. Play more by blue and wait for Wichita to come to him.
Well, it's going to be a bit of a waiting game now, as we still got just over a minute left on the round. Finally, that canister on the bunker doorway will be popped. 20 seconds goes away there. Second one ready and waiting with a Banshee nearby if Rice can pop it at the right time, or perhaps if Asian on the barrel's door can do that himself, looking to try and get aggressive. applying on Harry Potter with the Nitrocell in hand in case anyone starts to walk on down, as JJ looking to use these flashbangs, looking to burn it out, but again, the canister preventing this movement on in. They have the E-box hatch open, but they can't yet take away this pillar's control without the ability to push into bunker. They're being stalled out massively here, Light Rose.
But there's gonna be enough time for Wichita to work in at the end, and that's the bigger picture. The Banshee goes off, and now Wichita just get completely taken unaware by Asian. JJ's right there for the refrag, but Wichita have to find some way in the bomb site. They do, and start tearing apart Luminosity members. Yang Rice over in elbow still is able to have some sort of defense, and these SMG-11s start to sing. The Black Mirror will be that victor in the end. So an amazing defense. Luminosity are impressing me so much with their ability to stay calm, work off of the plan that they have, and take out this Wichita Wolves roster.
I think that's the perfect way to describe it as well, is it's staying calm. These two players in that final 2 versus 4 were incredibly clutch. They didn't overexpose themselves. They didn't push too far forwards. They took calculated risks. And when the members of Wichita Wolves, running low on time, pushed in looking for these frags, they left these openings. They didn't push in quite together enough, and you saw, right? They had one in Freezer, trying to walk in, trying to work for that back angle, but no one else, the highway, wasn't being committed to hard enough. You need to be pushing down that at the same time, so when they turn to take one fight, you shoot them in the other. And it's very hard to coordinate in these dying seconds to call it, right? Because there are 10 seconds left. You just have to find these final 2 frags. But that's what separates the top. And Luminosity able to capitalize on every little gap of time they were given to just continuously find frags backwards to secure the clutch.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Well, Wichita need to find some way to bounce back. I mean, the previous 3 rounds that Luminosity have had, I mean, it has just looked night and day between the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds, and what we have seen so far with Luminosity. And I think that's what I was saying with it takes a little bit for this team to wake up, and now it looks like they are at full power. Like they have reactivated, and it's going to take a fully optimized Wichita Wolves to take this roster down, even if they get the opening kill, even if they have some sort of execution ready. Luminosity always has some sort of backup plan. So we haven't seen a way in which the attack has been prepared for that. There's still a lot of siege to play. It's only 4-3, but I think something needs to change from Wichita. Otherwise, it's just going to be Luminosity all the way down.
And they're looking to try and clear as much information as they can from the small tower side, spotting out the frost mat. Gonna just get rid of that now. So again, clearing problems from later. We saw this before with getting rid of proximity mines. Still C-Splash lurking around below, and, well, Wichita Wolves, they want to get rid of this, right? They want to have that space to play around with, especially when you're bringing Twizzler on that buck. One of the great things you can do is open up a lot of this site from underneath. But instead, they're kind of petering out. They haven't quite found the way to break this open for them, and, well, that's going to be the first kill to fall as Rice is able to get Bri. The Yana, your entry, you look at that to be a big pick for you, falls away. They have this attic pressure. They're starting to get it opened on up. But so far, no one from Luminosity really giving them the opportunity to take forward space, which is what Wichita Wolves love to have.
Now, without a set operator, a core player on the attack, Wichita have to find some way to walk forward. You know, taking some shots. It's firing over by this dormitory. He sees the head of the player of Luminosity, and eventually it's JJ who's gonna get this one started for the attack. There's a lot of time still on the clock here. Golu for Wichita to sit back, wait, use the drones that they have in their pocket, and flush a player from Luminosity out. But JJ is going to be the next player on Luminosity's docket. Eventually, it will be Julian to fall, and it's just players left, right, and center from both teams that seem to be falling. But eventually, Luminosity ends up on top. Bino has to complete a 1v3. That Surya gate gets popped right up. He cannot get anything done. And one of the first real leads that we have seen Luminosity take, 5-3, Wichita Wolves will finally take a timeout, but it might be too little too late.
I'd like to see the timeout called at 5 rounds, because I think that gives you enough time to make an adjustment, have a slip up, and still be able to bounce back and fight through the round. Okay, because you call it a match point, you still have to figure out what you're doing. I think the big thing here for Wichita Wolves, from my perspective, Wichita Wolves, the way they've always excelled is that they get an opening pick and they can play around that to look for pressure around the map, or they use that pressure around the map to give themselves an opening pick. Luminosity are doing a very good job at challenging at the right time when the Wolves aren't ready to pounce. When there's still that sort of delay in the setup. And what happens is we see a pivotal member get taken down by Luminosity, and Wichita Wolves, they slow down. They peter out their attack, because now they have to figure out everything has a purpose. How do we replace that job? How do we get someone else to fill that void that it leaves in our attack? And that's what happens. And that's why they run out of time on these rounds. And what happens when they run out of time, Light Rose? Well, they're forced to just try and walk in to take these gunfights. And Luminosity, they're very happy to take chaotic gunfights. They will win them out time after time. So for me, it's just be a little bit quicker. If something falls apart, you need to just commit to one plan and try and execute on one part of the map rather than going for the mastermind play.
I mean, I think that's part of it, is Wichita Wolves, not only are Luminosity having a plan and acting off of it, Wichita Wolves are a little bit of the exact opposite. Like, they seem to be a little discombobulated. There's not a core set of an idea. And when one player falls, or a good part of that idea, let's say JJ, goes down, Wichita Wolves don't have a way to really work around that. So then they just kind of get feeding into the Luminosity machine. Match point is on the horizon, and for Wichita Wolves to go up against Aerial Rise Academy, really go toe-to-toe with them, and so far look like being handled by Luminosity. I think Luminosity and Aerial Rise Academy are two different beasts. And while Aerial Rise Academy might have these absolute gunners, good ideas, Luminosity from the beginning has a plan. And I think that's the scariest part.
Now we have to see if Wichita Wolves can take that punt to pieces, as they're trying to clear out more and more space, working their way towards kitchen with a bit of that pressure coming up towards the top floor, right? Droning himself in, trying to figure out where these upstairs members are playing. You have the sledge on the lineup to start to open this up. The impact hole, they should have seen some of the dust kicking up from that impact, so you should be aware to look down when you jump through. Be careful of the Malusi trying to challenge. But Eddie actually just going to drop away. Right, he doesn't want to risk getting caught out by a nade, doesn't want to risk anything. You still have the Wamai playing upstairs in that position, so spread yourselves out. Be ready for this oncoming push.
I think Wichita Wolves not getting killed this early might be a part of celebration, as they're not having that same structured early attack that Luminosity has. But if they deal with the player over in Attic, maybe deal with the player over in dorms, Splash does a little bit of damage to himself with his own impact grenade. It's really not going to matter in the end. It's just a little humorous moment in the end there, as Wichita Wolves, they have time to work this floorboard. Twizzler is going to use his sledgehammer. Bino's going to use his gun to get Wichita Wolves started in this round. They take down one of the roamers. They have to work through more before you should feel confident before attacking this gunfight, because 1 kill is enough. 2 kills are enough. I mean, 3, you're pushing it there. Wichita needs to grab this round by the horns and run away with it. Otherwise, Luminosity could come storming back.
Well, it looks like they heard you. Riot able to grab another pick onto Asian, looking to just walk on into Pit. There's 2 waiting to collect the kill onto the Ash, and now they lose that pressure, but they're getting the plant down inside of Kitchen. If they can just keep this coverage up, if they can prevent them from moving onto the hatch above, and that's exactly what they're doing. But what a shot from Rice! He's able to get in, able to get past, able to get the shotgun kill onto Bino as well, Light Rose. And now this round starts to look a little bit more grim. The trade comes out as Eddie is able to get down JJ. Bright above has the angle to watch out, but they're looking to walk up White, trying to double contest this. They'll have to do the swing perfectly, but they go for 1. The second gives away the shots, gets swung on by Bry, but wins out the gunfight. Julian claims the round for Luminosity. He's able to drop down, get that diffuser off in time. Luminosity are moving to match point.
That was the right play from Wichita. There's 3 players left, 2 of them in Attic. And so all you have to do is cover that planter and they get it down, but just the post plant, still Luminosity already. That was an L drawn right there. L for Luminosity, L for the one being handed to Wichita Wolves currently. It is, I mean, like I said, 1 wasn't enough. 2 wasn't enough. Wichita have nothing to their name right now. Even though they make the right decisions, they really, honestly, could have played that round, I don't know, maybe 1% better. They can't contend so far with what Luminosity has.
I think another big thing for me as well is just how big Rice was there, being able to take that swing aggressively and take them to them. Because when they lost out that control on the top floor, it became a lot harder for them to move back in. Yes, Brian is able to get in, able to get the pick needed to have that control for himself, but then he still has to hold off the 2 versus 1 in the post bar. And Luminosity double pushing upstairs, it's a bit hard when you only have 1 doorway to go through, but the first one died. Bright didn't think that they would be the second one waiting on top of White either, so he had to come back to retake the angle, retake that fight, and loses it out the second time around. And that's how you win for Luminosity, right? You play together, you play for these refrags, they're doing it consistently, and that's what's putting these rounds on the table for them. It's just playing so well into the style that Wichita Wolves are trying to bring to the table.
Here's the thing. I want to see Wichita get good plays like the one they did and it work out in the end because it feels earned. Bry could take an early gunfight against Splash, but he was that 1v1 that we saw in the last round. I was unable to win it, but nobody is truly going to hit the go button. Splash actually fires some bullets and Bry spawns the head just as he peeks the corner. He actually abandons that gunfight, heads up to that second floor, maybe help the Wolves deal with the roam and then work their way down. There's a lot of time for them to actually do that, and it seems that that is really the goal from the beginning. Maybe if they work potentially some vertical play, they only have the buck in the hands of Twizzler, but honestly, that might be more than enough. They could shut down Eddie right here, right now.
I think they've spotted him out in the corner. Oh, but Splash able to grab the Nitrocell kill up above. Twizzler walking in, trying to get that space and falling onto the perfect position to get caught out. Right inside of security, trying to fight around, but they didn't spot Eddie. He's walking around. It won't matter as Julian's able to get the kill with the shotgun, keeping things tight. But the second walks on in, and still, they don't know Eddie is lurking around in security. And now they're in a 2 versus 5 match point, facing them down. JJ, Riot, they need a miracle play to pull this round back. They're both going to be looking to walk down Freezer Light Rose, but it's going to be, well, one hell of a challenge looking them down, looking to try and find the first pick, peeking in, but Luminosity's patience, they're not trying to engage. They're just looking to wait out this clock.
And honestly, it's a chance to try to contend against this team again and potentially a flawless round. It is. And honestly, a little bit of a flawless second half. I don't think they let up a single round. And it felt like they just absolutely woke up. They kind of took their morning orange juice and went to work on this team. So Luminosity stepping onto Oregon. They say that, yeah, it took them to Oregon, and I guess they showed up where it really mattered. So they move on, put a domineering win over Wichita Wolves, the upset against AAA, and they go on to potentially face X2. But we've got 2 more matches, so we'll have to see what the scheduling's like. But we still... I feel like Luminosity would look so impressive in that second half.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was just the fact that when they moved on to their defensive side of things, they were very easily able to crack down on the plan for Wichita Wolves, which was to slowly move around, to pinch them in, to clear up this roam, and Luminosity did a great job of playing around every bit of gap that they were given, and towards the end, right, you saw players in that last round, Eddie waiting so patiently behind the boxes in Kitchen. You heard the Gemini come in. You heard the first player walk through. Lets it happen. Creates that sense of comfort for the Wichita Wolves, where they think they have control. They think they know what's going on. Then, at the click of a finger, you turn things around. They no longer know what's going on, and they're on the back foot. But now, that's the game for them, right? Wichita Wolves coming in a little bit hyped around them, right? They take down ARI's Academy, looking at one of those really, really strong teams coming in, one of those popular teams coming in. Now caught off. Luminosity take the win back. and keep up their streak through the season, they go 2-0 now. And, well, it's best of 3 for them next time.
I think it was their game against Lycus Empire kind of taken to the extreme, that Wichita Wolves had the upper hand in the beginning. You saw JJ talking in chat, and then Luminosity, here they come. They also started talking in chat, posting L's on the sprays after that 1v1. So an exciting personality clash between some of these players, and it makes it exciting for us, the viewers at home, and to see, well, I guess Titans of orgs start to clash between them. I know Luminosity might have some more status between Wichita Wolves and maybe some other esports, but I know that right now in Rainbow Six, at least in this match, it was Luminosity winning over Wichita Wolves.
Yeah, and I think a 7-3 win is really strong showing from them as well, right? You now get to move on. They're the team that I think, in retrospect, we should have had the faith in, right? They're the team with the experience coming in, played at the higher level. They know what they're doing. And I think it just showcases that they understood the game plan coming in. They understood the win condition for Wichita Wolves and played around it perfectly. You're looking at the scoreboard. I mean, so many of these players having big impact in so many rounds. 3 players on the 70% cost, always having that effect, always being available to help their teams. And it's not just in the frags, right? They were always backing each other up. The information flowed through the team. It was great to see.
Yeah, impressive, especially with Julian and Eddie. Usually you might see like one player head up, especially above a 1.0, but 2 of them, if not 3, right at that 1.27. Luminosity, I mean, really, the stats kind of tell the story a little bit. It's unfortunate that the player we highlighted, Twizzler, couldn't get it done a lot in the KD tonight, but sometimes you do have an off game. You gotta think about, we're not in the players' comms. We're not actually inside their heads. We don't know what's going on. And sometimes you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. People have off nights.
Yeah. Well, we have a nice little interview prepared with the coach from Luminosity, Tysis. So, we'll get to see how that goes. But, Tysis, welcome again. Another win for the guys. 2-0 now so far. Good way to start, right?
Yeah, a very good way to start this SCS. We're just playing our normal, and basically that's it. A good win for the team.
Much adjustment needed to come into this game against Wichita Wolves, or you still keeping it the same? You're playing your own game and not worrying about too much what they're bringing to the table?
No, we're just doing the normal things. We're not doing any kind of counter plays against them. We're not showing more stuff. Just doing like the simple.
So you feel very comfortable going through these first stages. Some of these earlier teams that you're going to be engaging, not really going to stand up to your level.
Yeah, that's it.
So a lot of interesting plays coming out. We loved the round on Ying line where you had the window, you're rushing attic. Is this something that's premeditated, or is this the guys in the server spotting the opening and just plunging on in?
No, we actually saw those VODs that they played, and we actually knew that they had the defense. So we saw the gap, and we just did it. But we talked before the game.
So like to get aggressive, like to get in there. But the other thing that we really loved to see was every time Wichita gave you space, you were very quick to move on. Is that because the guys just get the information, they're droning in for each other very well? What is it that allows them to move so quickly through a map?
For me, it's simple. It's our playstyle, you know. We drone, we get in. If we don't have a drone, we get in. We have to get in. So yeah, it's our playstyle. It's the style that we play with strats and being aggro at the same time. So Siege is a game that you cannot like waste a lot of time. So you have to actually drone and get in the bomb site, you know. And so basically that's the idea.
And you talk about the importance of time. That was one thing on your defenses. You did a great job at just slowing down Wichita Wolves, and a lot of times they didn't really know what the correct way to tackle your holds were. Is this just because they struggled to break you guys down, or is this more just the complexity or the aggression that can come out just caught them off guard?
No, in my opinion, our aggro plays are like normal. There's no like big of difference between our aggro plays and other teams. So basically is that they don't have like enough things to actually execute. So yeah, that's the idea.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much for opening up on that. And what team are you looking forward to catching next? Is there anyone you want to try and take on in for your 3-0? It's a best of 3 next week for you guys.
Yeah, I want to beat Astralis because of Wafer. So basically, that's the idea: beat Astralis.
Nice. So it's just looking at those upper teams now, looking to send the message that you guys are ready to tango with the NAL squads.
Yeah, basically we don't have to send any message. We decided on the server, you know, and yeah, that's the idea.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and congratulations on the win again. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Maybe you get to just relax for a bit now before your next series.
Yeah, thank you.
Leave it out on the server. I think that's a pretty good statement that Luminosity made today. And they move on is potentially over S2. I mean, they might face Astralis auction. That will be a terrifying top group. But so far, we're starting to see the outliers here, Golu. We're seeing some teams go up to 2-0, some teams go down to 1-1, and so far we've got 2 more matches to go. I mean, I think we got what some could say barn burners of matches tonight.
You gotta be careful you use that phrase around. Some people are not the fan, but yeah, I think you're spot on. I think I'm looking forward to seeing how our next 2 games for the evening unfold. But I think to wrap up this Luminosity game, ultimately, they said they'd play it in the server. They did. They've shown their dominance here today. And I think for Wichita Wolves, looking forward to their next game, it's about just consolidating on some of the weaknesses that have shone through against a team like Luminosity, who are a little bit quicker at punishing you for your openings. The Aerial Rise Academy game, great start. This is the learning curve now. This is what you have to learn from to bounce back, to win, and come back stronger.
So we will be going to a quick break, and then do not go anywhere. It's RTV, Reality TV CL winners versus Astralis. We'll see you then.